Hello, it's me, Max, again. Making this video to ask all true Christians to stand up and let their voices be heard. There is an apostasy out there, and it's growing. It's an apostasy that claims to be Christian but denies its power. Those whose love have grown cold and they love money more than their fellow man. They're called by many names. They're called the religious right. The media calls them evangelical, which I find offensive, painting evangelicals in a bad light. They're not evangelical. Evangelical means good news bearer, and all the news they have is judgment, greed, and hypocrisy. Not the true gospel of salvation and transformation. Other people call them fundamentalists. I don't call them that anymore. The fundamentals of Christianity is humility, peace, justice, mercy, love. They show none of them. I cannot judge a person's heart, but you can discern them by their fruit. Grapes do not grow from thorn bushes, and thorns do not grow from grape bushes. And that's how you can tell wolves in sheep's clothing. I went to Occupy Madison today, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, a bunch of socialists. Some of them are. But many of them are people who are just upset that capitalism is broken, that the game has been rigged to put most of the wealth in the hands of a few. The wealthiest share of income has grown substantially, while the middle class and the poor have stagnated or even got worse. And these apostates, that's what I call them, apostates, which means apostasy, fallen away, they are the ones backing Wall Street. They're the ones backing the corporations. They're the ones like Janet Porter, who said there's a demonic influence behind Occupy Wall Street. Well, you know what, Janet Porter? You know what, Sister Janet? There's a demonic influence behind Wall Street. There's a demonic influence in the religious right. I'm not saying you're evil. I'm not saying you're satanic. I'm just saying that you have been seduced by money. And you have become idolaters, like the ancient Israelites. And I'm saying this out of love. I mean, I may consider you my spiritual enemies, but I love you and I pray for you. Like I said, I went to Occupy Wall Street. I don't know if you can see this. Yes, the top 1% are sodomites. Although a lot of people didn't understand, a lot of people only saw the word sodomite, and I believe that the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church have bastardized what that term meant. That term meant sex without love. It meant rape. I mean, the men of Sodom, they didn't want to have consensual sex with the angels. They wanted to humiliate them. They wanted to say, like, you strangers coming in here, they saw their righteousness. You judge us. Come out here. We want to rape you. That's the sin of Sodom. And this. Ezekiel 16:49. This was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughter were arrogant, overfed, and concerned. They did not help the poor and the needy. By that definition, the religious right of sodomites. And I know they give charity. They give to charity. But there's a drop in the bucket compared to what government and what the corporations have done. I mean, it's like robbing someone with one hand and giving them charity from the other. Doesn't cancel out. And the thing is, we live in a greedy, narcissistic world, in a material world. And that is the way the devil gets us. I mean, the devil doesn't make us evil. Sometimes he makes us complacent. Sometimes he makes us apathetic. And he has done that with religious right. I mean, people are saying, oh, the Bible doesn't say being rich is a sin. You're saying being rich is a sin. What are you, a Marxist? Being wealthy is not a sin if you use your money for a good purpose. If money is a means to the end, not the end itself. I mean, look at this. Proverbs 18:23. The poor plead for mercy, but the rich answer harshly. Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Usury is a sin. And there's these payday companies that have no regulation that give loans at like upward of like 500% interest. And my Republican legislature and the governor don't want to regulate it. Money. It's all money. Isaiah, your rulers are rebels partnered with thieves, always searching after a bribe or a gift. The cause of the widow or the orphan does not come before them. Proverbs 28:6. Better the poor whose walk is blameless than the rich whose ways are perverse. Proverbs 28:11. The rich are wise in their own eyes. One who is poor and discerning, see how deluded they are. I mean, Jesus wasn't a Democrat, wasn't a Republican, but he did speak out against injustice. I mean, he would be at Occupy Wall Street. I mean, his sermons against the Pharisees and the religious right of their day would be a manifesto of Occupy Wall Street. I mean, just listen to this. This is very harsh. Though you block the entrance to the kingdom of God, knowing you yourself will not go in, nor will you let others go in either. You cross land and sea for a single convert and make that convert twice the child of hell as you are. I mean, he said, woe to you who are rich. You already had your consolation. We are a country of the rich fool who lots of money, barns full of money, and then God said, on this night your life will be taken away from you. Sorry, I'm just very passionate about this. Micah 6:12. Your rich people are violent. Your inhabitants are liars, and their tongues speak deceitfully. I mean, these are the prophets. I mean, they're saying basically the same thing that Occupy Wall Street is saying. See, them and the Tea Party, who are the real Christians? I mean, the Tea Party started out good, talking about the same things, talking about the bailouts. But they were co-opted by the religious right and the Republican Party. Matthew 19:23. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Truly I tell you, it is hard for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God." I know people say with God all things are possible. God changes the heart. Faith in Jesus transforms. Faith changes the heart. And if you change the heart, even if you're wealthy, you will no longer be greedy. You will no longer be consumed by wealth. That's why God said with God, that's what Jesus said with God, it is possible. And it's important. It is important because Jesus said that several times. The rich man and Lazarus. The rich man who had it all. Who saw poor, homeless Lazarus, hungry, homeless Lazarus, and really didn't care. While Lazarus went to Abraham's bosom, and the rich man went to torment. My pastor had a great story. Pastor Glenn Regeldorfer, shout out, who said, hell is a place where there's a big banquet, but you have large forks that you can't reach your mouth. He said heaven is a place where there's a huge banquet. You have giant forks, but the people are feeding each other. I love that. And that's what Christianity is. We're feeding each other. We're loving each other. Matthew 21:31. Jesus said to them, "Truly I tell you, the tax collectors and the prostitutes are entering the kingdom of God ahead of you." I mean, the tax collectors and the prostitutes were considered the worst of earth. I mean, today he could use the secular humanists and homosexuals are going to be in the kingdom of heaven before you. And I'm talking about homosexuals who have love. I'm talking about homosexuals who don't fornicate. I'm talking about homosexuals who have one partner. I mean, they show more love. They show more compassion than you ever do. Think about that. So, like I said in the beginning, I'm calling all Christians to unite. I love mainline Christianity. I am a mainline Christian. I'm an evangelical Presbyterian from the Presbyterian Church of USA. But the one thing, we are not very vocal. We are too humble for our own good. Humility is good, but when humility makes us silent, then it's bad. And so we have to speak out. And I mean, there are evangelicals in evangelical churches who know that this is wrong. You got to speak out and say, these are apostates. I mean, there was a guy at Occupy Madison who I was talking about God. I was sharing the gospel with him. He didn't want to hear it. But he told me, "Oh, I know all about Christianity. I was forced to go to a Catholic military school. Like, blessed are the peacemakers, and here's how you can kill." And then he said, a while later, he was helping a woman in a wheelchair, like a woman who was very bad off, and went to take her to church, and went into church and opened the Bible, and there was an ad for George Bush Sr. And he said, "I'm never going to set foot in a church again." I invited him